Hello and welcome to this installment of Commissioner's Corner. I'm Paul Caragiulo. I represent District 2 for the city of Sarasota. One of the greatest assets our city has is the Bobby Jones Golf Course, which has an amazing history. It is a true asset. It is used by very many people in the community and outside of the community. Very recently there has been a group formed that wants to advocate for the betterment of the facility called Friends of Bobby Jones. And we are here today with Shawn Pierson, who is the president of the Friends of Bobby Jones. And Shawn, can you just tell me a little bit how the organization got started?
It started, for me at least, in 2011 when the City Commission appointed me to represent the interests of Bobby Jones Golf Club on the Parks, Recreation, and Environmental Protection Advisory Board. So that prep board has a seat assigned to sort of look after Bobby Jones Golf Club. And when I got onto the board, I started to sort of do my homework, do my research. And by 2012, I'd spent about 3 months looking into all of the city's consultancy reports that they had done over the last decade or so. And I compiled that into what I called the reports report. And at the time, I just took all the recommendations that had been kind of sitting on the shelf for a while and tried to bring them to life and put them into a coordinated effort. The other thing that I saw was that the city had recently, or previously, had a Bobby Jones Golf Club Advisory Board, and you were a member of that board. And at that time, the city had this outlet and forum for citizens to talk about the issues at Bobby Jones. They'd meet every month, and there were 9 people on that board. And that was a decent amount of citizen activism or citizen input to what happens at Bobby Jones Golf Club, and a decent amount of time spent talking about those issues and getting those issues broadcast out to the general public. On the prep board, with only one person representing the interests of Bobby Jones Golf Club, what we used to have was significant. What we have now is just one person reporting to a board, and so we might spend 15 minutes or at most 30 minutes at each meeting talking about Bobby Jones Golf Club, and that board only meets every other month. So it's a really vastly reduced opportunity for the public to have these discussions.
Let me ask you, you're obviously a golfer, I would think.
I am.
I know you're an architect by training and profession. Can you tell me more specifically what got you interested in wanting to take on a complex project? I mean, it's always difficult. There are a lot of components to this. There's a historical component, there's the design, there's the management and the functionality and the sustainability. Can you just tell me what specifically interested you?
Well, I came into Sarasota with this background in architecture, and a significant part of my early career was spent in historic preservation and in doing a lot of pro bono community work. So our firm would be representing communities as development interests came into their communities to have that dialogue. So I was used to having this kind of project in front of me, if you will, or this set of circumstances in front of me. But when I did the research into the consultants' reports, what I saw is that they focused on, as you said, the operational or the management aspects of the course. And they left out some of the things that were important, but just not addressed within their subspecialties. They left out the historical and cultural aspects and the social aspects and the community-wide interest aspects of Bobby Jones Golf Club. And they just focused on the nuts and bolts of day-to-day operations, if you will. And the history is tremendous and fabulous, and it interweaves all of the wrangling and circus interests into the early history and development of the town. Golf, in general, was a big force in developing not just Florida, but in developing the city of Sarasota, and it really continues to be. So I had, years ago, been so interested in golf and in golf design in particular, as an architect, that I attended Harvard University's Graduate School of Design. They had a golf course design and development institute, and attending that and sitting down with some of the best in the design profession, the architectural design profession, really got me interested in how broad an approach you can take when you look at a golf course, socially, environmentally. And so it was really a chance for everything to come together for me. And then also I saw that the city needed to have this conversation in a broader context. Without that Bobby Jones Advisory Board and without the amount of time spent, I thought there needed to be a bigger conversation, and that perhaps a not-for-profit private institution or organization could help foster that. So that's the genesis of starting the group.
You have spent an enormous amount of time on this project and in front of the commission, and we're certainly used to seeing your face and hearing an extraordinary amount of detail with regard to the facility and you know, long-term plans. But can you tell me about some of the other folks you've been involved with?
Well, it started out with a conversation among just a few people. So it was the regular golfers at Bobby Jones Golf Club. And then it was talking to the Women's Golf Association, long-standing history, 100 members or more, and then to the Men's Golf Association. They've been a tremendous part in the development of events at Bobby Jones Golf Club going back to the 1920s and 30s. And so these are people that are there on the golf course day in, day out, and getting their input and their suggestion box sort of complaints and observations and aspirations was a big part of getting us started. They steered us pretty well toward the direction of the everyday golfer that plays there in and out at Bobby Jones Golf Club, and to the kinds of observations that those folks make, how they compare Bobby Jones Golf Club to other local opportunities for socializing and for playing golf and for recreation in general, and to where they come from, their hometowns. You know, we're a city that invites people from all over the country, certainly all over the eastern side of the country and from Canada and abroad. And so we get a lot of good input from people who've been to some of the best places around the world and can interject a little bit of the flavor of this or that place, what works for them, what worked for them here. We also started to get a more broad non-golfer community input. We set up tents and we set up a booth at the farmers market. We started doing surveys and listening to what golfers and non-golfers had to say about what Bobby Jones Golf Club could be or should be to them. We started talking to the local adjacent neighborhood associations, and we learned a lot from them, and we started developing maps. We started with a Google Earth image of the entire property. It's about 342 acres. I noticed walking in the room here that this space occupies up to 342 people. And I noticed that Bayfront 2020 was talking about 42 acres of city property that's involved in their discussion. Well, we're 42 plus 300 acres that we're talking about when we talk about Bobby Jones Golf Club. And that's half of the city's designated parkland. So it's a big opportunity to change not just the sort of day-to-day thinking about the golf course and just the organizational thinking about its challenges, but the golf course now is really surrounded by a moat with a gated bridge and miles of chain link fence. And on the other side of those chain link fences are avenues that are conduits in and out of the city that we can open. And I guess the best way I could describe it is that instead of having a sort of fenced in, which includes fenced out attitude about Bobby Jones Golf Club, at least how we talk about it in the community, that we could have more of an interrelationship way of how we talk about it. Because when I talk to the community groups, the people that live in the neighborhoods surrounding the golf course, they have a really different look and feel about that place than I do living on North Siesta Key, or that someone does living downtown. But the other part of the discussion is starting to talk to the county, starting to talk to people in Bradenton and Manatee County that regularly play the course, and to see from their point of view what we can be offering. So the conversation keeps broadening to include experts and to include more stakeholders, if you will, and more potential investors in the future of Bobby Jones Golf Club. They invest now with their time and their enjoyment and their energy, and we'd like to see if we can broaden that investment and the benefits to them.
Your organization produced a report that deals with an analysis of the facility with regards to sustainability and operational aspects of it. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Well, the report you're referring to was actually produced by myself when as part of my duties to the prep board. So that was authored in 2012, and it was called RRX. It was sort of RR as a redo because it was reassembling all these previous reports, and the RX is that it's sort of a look at the future, a prescription, if you will. But it just consolidated all of the reports that were done by consultants and put the social and historical context there and today's context there, and talked about the tremendous opportunity we have for sports tourism and for making a positive environmental and social impact at Bobby Jones Golf Club. And the prep board, in turn, accepted that report. They voted unanimously to send the report to the City Commission and as a way of representing what they wanted to say to the City Commission about Bobby Jones Golf Club. And we've since taken that report and expanded upon it through what we've learned. I've been visiting with golf professionals from Maine to, from Miami to Boston, and probably 50 different clubs, and learning as much as we possibly can and getting great support from the golf community about what's happening here in Sarasota. People all around the country are starting to learn about what's happening in Sarasota.
Can you tell me, there are 4 specific initiatives that the Friends of Bobby Jones have outlined. Can you tell me a little bit about them specifically, and perhaps what the community benefit to those components are?
Well, the initiatives were simply a way to take this really complex set of issues and put them into 4 interrelated and more user-friendly and digestible baskets. The Bobby Jones initiative just says, you know what, we need to start talking about this place in terms of a vision. What do we want it to be as a community? What do we want it to be in 10, 20, 30 years? So when we establish that vision with the community stakeholders, then we can create a master plan for it, similar to the conversations with Bayfront 2020. Very similar process, actually, and similar sets of principles that we want to unearth from the community. And then once we have that, we put that with a marketing master plan and with performance metrics, the kinds of things that we draw from the National Golf Foundation report, from the USGA reports that we've done, from the architects' reports, but it's a way to organize that. The Donald Ross initiative says the most valuable asset we've got on that piece of property is the historic 1925 Ross course. So let's respect that, let's restore it, let's preserve it. It's a historic preservation project. And the Gillespie initiative recognizes that John Hamilton Gillespie, our first elected mayor, brought to Sarasota and to Florida the first golf course. And it's a tie to our history, from Gillespie to the Ringlings to today. And it's about growing the game and making this a community-based and a community-wide resource. And then the Azinger initiative says, we've got these 2 courses that were built in 1952 and in 2 9-hole courses that were built in 1952 and in 1967, and they were never really meant to work well together, and they don't. So it's a reinvestment in those courses to sort of make those a comprehensive and modern offering for golfers and visitors today.
And your organization has a website, perhaps?
We do, sure. It's www.friendsofbobbyjonesgolfclub.org.
Well, Shawn, I would like to personally thank you for the amazing effort that you've put into this project, and your care and your concern for this asset that the city enjoys. And hopefully we can work together to provide for greater sustainability and a greater experience for all the citizens and all the users of the facility. I'd like to thank you all for tuning into this edition of Commissioner's Corner. Hope to see you all soon. Thank you.